are back with another episode of Triggered AF, the podcast. I don't know why I start things like that, but it just feels right. It just feels like
It feels right. So we got to go with it.
I just gotta go with it. It just feels like, and we're back. And I just know that, we have so many episodes at this point, over 100 episodes. Okay. And because we're switching things up a little bit, I just feel like it just brings a whole new energy, a whole new vibe.
Yes, the vibe is vibing.
Vibe is
We
vibe.
definitely loved like how y'all responded to our first quote of the week. So of course we are keeping it going. So Danny, let me know what's the quote of the week for this week.
So the quote of the week is, if you consider a woman less pure after you've touched her, maybe you should take a look at them hands. Okay. And that's from Kezia Sabah. Because oftentimes everyone's pointing the finger at who women are sleeping with, but who they sleeping with, y'all? Where are the men that they are sleeping with? Okay. Like that is the conversation. Because today we're talking about hotels. And we need to also have a conversation about who all these men are that these women are, whoring with.
Because I mean, they're being called all these names, but they don't have a reduction of suitors. So we need to, we gonna dive deep and talk about the pros and the cons, yes, but also if you are one of the gentlemen who is speaking so vibrantly. And yes, I said vibrant because they be real. I mean, real bright.
The podcast bros, the
The
passport
podcast
bros,
bros, the
and the
passport,
passport bros, all them bros.
both of them, all
The
the bros,
hoes.
all the bros who be doing the same thing. That they are literally damning women to hell and trying to burn them at the stake for. But we're not gonna talk about that right now. Okay. Just know that's your quote of the week. So if she's dirty, you must be too, because you either trying to tap that or you have just finished tapping that. So
now I want you to let us know what the dating well AF tip of the week is, because we're trying to help y'all on these dating streets. So give us a tip, give us something to go on with for the week.
Absolutely. The reason we're also giving you these dating well AF tips on a weekly basis is because you must understand the most important life decision you will ever make is who you decide to make your partner. So we have taken it upon ourselves to help those who are either looking for partners to date or who are currently with, partners. This is how you date them even better, or how you find good folks to date. So here's the thing. Knowing who you are and what you want sets your standard and helps you date better. You will not date very well if you do not know who you are, primarily because you will find yourself turned off, constantly criticizing, feeling as though you can never find anyone because you have not gotten to know the most important person in that equation, which is you. And understand, getting to know yourself is a lifelong journey. It is lifelong. You will change, you will shift, you will become multiple people over multiple lifetimes through multiple experiences, and all of that is okay. But it is absolutely important for you to get super intentional about who you are, what you like, so that as you are navigating the who and the what, you're able to connect with folks who align with whatever that vision is for yourself. So.
Yes, that makes me think, because I feel like, and I'm thinking about like different things, but I feel like as we go into our next segment where we talk a little bit about what's going on the interwebs, okay, on the internets, a lot of times we're so quick to form opinions and pass judgment, especially as women, to other women who are really just on their own journey, trying to navigate and trying to find themselves and figure things out. And we oftentimes don't give each other the grace to kind of do that, in the space to do that in a healthy way. And when we hear like celebrity rumors or we see things in the media, we're so quick to point the finger and pass judgment. But oftentimes these are opportunities to have healthy conversations around healing and trauma. And like, hey, what can I take away from that? So this segment where we're talking about pop culture is not just about sipping the tea, even though we're going to sip a little tea, but it's also about how can we take these moments that are in our orbit, that are in the media, that we're just talking about for the sake of gossiping. How can we kind of use them for good and use them as opportunities to heal, to ask better questions, to look a little bit deeper, and to kind of come up with how this person or how this little bit of tea is really serving us, as people, rather than just gossiping about it. So that's what this next segment is about. And today we want to talk a little bit about Lori Harvey. Now, this beautiful, beautiful woman stays in the media with her latest bow on her arm. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about what it means to be a young woman dating in the public eye. And I hear and I see a lot of women bashing Miss Lori, okay, for
whole bashing, real
whole
bashing.
bashing her, for the choices that she makes and the men that she chooses to date and the frequency, in which she chooses to date them. And my take on it is that, she has the access and the resources to do those things. And there are so many of us in our 20s. She's very young. From what I understand, she's like 25, 26, maybe
I think
27.
I think she's like 27 now, because she was
27,
going to
yeah.
get married around like 25, and I guess her mom and her dad, and she ultimately decided like, yo, I'm a baby, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, and praise the Lord that she did not. And I'm such a proponent of women exploring in their 20s. It's just that she's doing it in a public eye. So it does take a little bit more mindfulness to do that. And I'm sure a lot of strength and a thick skin. So I'm assuming that's what she has. But I
am
am
so glad I ain't dating in the public eye, because if y'all only knew how many people
y'all
I've
would have
dated.
dragged me, child. Dragged me straight through the mud. I think that women should explore and experiment and do all the things in their 20s. But that's just me.
But listen, but here's the thing though. I'm not in my 20s. I am actually, and I can't believe I'm about to say this out loud. I've never said it out loud. I'm in my late 30s. And this year alone, I have dated far more people than Miss Lori Harvey have dated. I mean, in the last couple months, I done dated at least.
And you shouldn't assume that because you're dating people you're sleeping with, and not because she's dating people on a red carpet with somebody means that they're being sexually intimate. Like that's not a thing. I don't know. Like we need to reframe that, but you can go on dates with people and not have sex with them. It's very possible. It's a thing, guys. It's a thing.
It is a whole thing, because literally of all the people I've dated this year, I have not slept with most of them, but I didn't for darn sure. I've been dating up a storm, like as in dating a person like multiple months. And, I just haven't slept with them, not because I haven't wanted to, because maybe the timing wasn't right, or I wanted to know a little bit more about them, or whatever it was. But there is nothing wrong with dating. And I really need people to like step off your high horse and quit pretending it's just your stuff ain't on Front Street. And if she did decide that she was going to sleep with every one of them, that's still none of your business. Mind your own vaginal canal and uterus. It's not your business.
And maybe we should see Miss Harvey as an inspiration to us all to keep your options open. Never ever settle for anything. And like she says, you are the prize. Never forget that you are the prize. I've heard that is a direct quote from her. So I think that it's important to take the things that you can use and that someone's doing, like, okay, you know what, you cannot copy and paste her life. You do not have access and resources in the way that you may not, because you might, but most of us don't have the access and the resources that she has. So you need to do those things in a way that suits your lifestyle. Okay. But I do think that she can be an inspiration to all women to never settle for less. Keep your options open and never feel like you need to adhere to society standards or anyone else's standards to create the life that you want for yourself. It's up to you. Know what you're getting yourself into, but also know the consequences of said lifestyle if you decide that you want to be a free spirit and date, from guy to guy. I think that's entirely up to you. But I do want women to be conscious of what that means, what those energetic exchanges mean, what it means to let so many people know where you live, child. I mean, that can be dangerous. Okay. So, just weigh all the pros and cons of being that open, but also let's not point the finger at a young woman who is just doing all the things that we probably did, but just in a public eye.
That part, because like I said, I don't even want to talk about how many people I dated this year. And no, date does not mean sleep with. Mind your own vaginal canal and uterus. It does mean that it is okay to date. It does take, confidence to live life on your terms, with, just like Danny said, understanding that there are consequences that come with living life on your terms, but being okay with, hey, this is who I am. This is the path that I have decided I am going to take. And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be okay with what that means. And you make whatever decisions you need to make because of that. Okay.
Okay. Well, you guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed these segments, and it's time to jump right on into our interview.
Yep. Check you out in the episode. Bye.
So today we wanted to dive right in and have a conversation because, we like to, talk a little pop culture sometimes and kind of like, touch on some of the relevant things that are happening in our society, which is IG. IG is society. Okay. What's happening in our is society, apparently. And there has been so much talk lately, I feel like, about women and not even just women, but I think people and like slut shaming and being sluts and being whores. And like that, I thought that we had dealt with that. I thought that we were done slut shaming, i.e., Amber Rose's slut walks and Sukiana's coochie consciousness. And, I thought that, we all had an understanding that, having fun and going out and exploring was A-okay.
Listen,
but we're back to calling women sluts and whores.
Yes, we're back there. For mind you, and we're being called sluts and whores by men who, hands down, usually have more partners in 1 month than those women have had in 1 year. But that's neither here nor there, because we are not here, okay, to have that conversation. What this is a conversation around, honestly, like let's get real about it. There are some pros and some cons to being a slut. Now, I just want to make sure, just let's, put the disclaimer out. We are not in any way, shape, or form slut shaming, because what you do with your private parts is not my business. That part. What I do with my private parts is not your business. My only hope is that you are doing so in a consensual manner, and that you are also being safe, because diseases and babies are absolutely real.
Yes. And it would be unfair for anyone to have a platform and an opinion without telling the whole truth. And it's so much easier now to just give everyone permission to do everything, but not everything is serving you. Not everything is good for you, is good for society, is good for the community. So I just think we do need to have more conversations that are telling the whole story, as opposed to just everyone only having conversations or listening to conversations that validate the behavior they're already doing. That is, you're not gonna get nowhere like that. Nope. So we're gonna talk about the whole spectrum and what it means to be a slut, what it means to be promiscuous, what it means to explore your body, the bodies of others. There's so much that goes into it that is beyond the surface. It goes a little bit deeper than just the act of sex. Like, what is intimacy? What does that show up as? How important is intimacy? How important is it to commit to one person versus having a period of time where you are, jumping around and going from person to person? Like, there are pros and cons to all of that.
Absolutely. And because, I like to usually get my bad news first. I do. I always have. For me, tell me the bad news first so that I can, soak that in, acknowledge and honor whatever that is, and then give me some good news so that I can at least
I'm a bad news first person too. Always tell me the bad news first.
Tell me the bad news first so that I can at least end it on a high note. Don't leave me down in the dumps.
And it gives me time to start processing and like coming up with a solution. So, I'm with you there. Bad news first. Never thought about that, but I am a bad news first type of person. That's a type that is a personality type. Like, do you want the good news or the bad news? I'm bad news for sure.
Give me the bad news first. Let me cry. Let me feel all my feelings, and then give me some good news so I can be like, okay, well, this isn't happening, but at least I have this, that, and the third. So no, always in and everything. But so for this, I want to talk first about like, okay, so what are the cons of being a slut? I like definitions. Okay. Definitions for me matter. So when you look up the term like slut, and this is in Oxford, and for me, neither here nor there, but they say it's usually a woman who has many casual sexual partners. That is the definition. Similar words are like a promiscuous woman, a harlot, a scarlet, a strumpet, and a trollop. So there are.
Oh my God, a trollop. I was sitting here thinking about the word. And one time when I was in London, I was in a bathroom, like a public bathroom, and these girls got into it, like in the bathroom. And then the girl was like, "You trollop." And I was like, "What is a trollop?" Now I know. It's
Apparently, it is a slut. That is
mhm.
apparently what it is. Um, so here's the thing. Like I said, we're going to talk about first the cons of it. I think when I was younger, I didn't understand how, even if, because sex connects some women and sex disconnects other women, it honestly all depends on how you were introduced to sex, what
Yeah.
your experiences have been, how those experiences have played out, whether you felt protected, whether you felt taken advantage of. All of that depends on your relationship usually with sex. Are you, very religious, and you believe that sex is only supposed to be between married people, whatever it is, right? And so for me, what I did not understand about sex, which honestly is one of the cons of being a slut, is the energy exchange that happens, and how you can take on energies, spirits, addictions through intercourse. And I did not understand that when I first started exploring extremely freely. I also didn't understand that and how it would affect my feelings of worthiness. I didn't understand that. And I think if I had to pick a third, I didn't understand how much it could mess up my pH and all the things.
That was gonna be my con. I was like, I mean,
It
but yeah,
just really mess up the pH real bad when you are like, hipping and hopping and flippity flopping to
yeah,
multiple partners.
yeah.
So what would you say your top three like cons are of like being a slut?
I think all the ones that you said, I think those are the only cons. Like, what else is there? Everything else is like, do you, boo? If I maybe had to add anything to your con, I would say that I think a con is, this is in my brain really well, so I don't know if I'm going to communicate it as well. But I think that sometimes when you do have promiscuous behavior as a young woman, you do have to resolve that person as you mature and change and evolve. And it requires you to forgive yourself. It requires you to honor that version of yourself without feeling shame. And I know we're all out here living our best lives and we're going to do us and we're going to do all those things. But anybody that has grown and evolved, I've never really met a very evolved person who is still super promiscuous. Why? Because they have the understanding of the energetic exchange. They have the understanding of the kind of repercussions that happen on an energetic level
Yeah.
that you don't have control over because you made a decision to do that. So the things that you take on, you've already agreed to. It's like you're entering into a contract that you didn't read.
Yeah.
And so I think that I know for a lot of women that I've spoken to, they've had to learn to forgive themselves and to honor themselves for who they used to be and the things they used to do. So that's one part that I know is challenging for a lot of women because, like you said, that question of worthiness comes in, and then you don't forgive yourself, and now you don't feel like you're good enough to get ABC. You're not good enough for this, and this because of your past behavior. That's a fact. And then I think the other one is realizing, like another con I would say of being super promiscuous and being a slut is your reputation. It just, that's the world we live in. And
Yeah.
I know that we would like to live in a different world where that double standard does not exist.
Mhm.
But you can watch any reality show, you can listen to any of these Passport Bros podcasts, bullshit, and you will hear that the mentality of men and women is still very archaic and outdated when it comes to women and their sexuality and owning their sexuality and things like that. So, unfortunately, in this reality that we live in, you know, your reputation and things like that could cost you, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship that you really wanted, but you fucked the homies. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like those things are still important to people. So I do think you still have to, based on what kind of life you want, right? Like I know that I could probably never run for president because I'm almost sure that there is some footage of me somewhere.
I know. We interrupted at the best part, but hear me out.
Dating should not be this hard. Let's be honest. We've all said it at least once that the dating pool has pee in it.
It has to. After dozens of dates, too many failed relationships, engagements, marriages, and even a divorce, we decided it was crucial that we find ways to be better at attracting the partners that we desire. So we did just that, and we created the Dating Well AF course.
It's specifically designed to show women how to date with intention and in alignment with their desired type of lifestyle and experience. The 5-module crash course developed by certified coaches Alicia and Danny provides practical tools to date well and live even better.
So I want you to register now for lifetime access to the Dating Well AF course at datingwellaf.com. You will tap all the way in to learn how to identify those self-sabotaging behaviors, discover new ways to date intentionally, and to nurture that healthy love.
Remember, one of the most important life decisions you will ever make is who you decide to make your partner. Make the choice well and visit datingwellaf.com.
Now, back to the episode.
That somebody will find, okay? And
Me too.
okay, so like I'm not the girl that's never sent news, that's never recorded sexual acts. Like I can't proclaim to be that person. So I know that that caps me. I'm capped. I'm capped. My ceiling. There is a glass ceiling for me. I will never be president. I will never run for president. I probably will never run for any political offices. I know that. I know that that is a repercussion of my past behavior, and I just have to be honest with that. Even if that past behavior was in a committed relationship with a boyfriend, like nobody cares, right? It's just the perception is the reality. So just being real with what the repercussions are down the road and thinking about those things and understanding how it will affect you. It's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
No, I agree completely. Another major con that I think people don't think about is if you're not maintaining your sexual health and you get certain diseases and you keep them for long periods of time, it sterilizes you. So your decisions that you have made really do affect your ability later when you feel differently, right? And then also, I think the major thing, which is one that for me has proved challenging because I have been so free in my experiences, I know certain things. You can't unknow. Like virginity isn't
a good one, right? Like you have so much experience, it's hard to like.
It's hard to go back.
It's hard. Yeah, like it's hard. Yeah, that's so good. It's like once you fly first class, like flying economy is just like
it don't feel good.
You might do it, but it's just like I'd rather not.
Exactly. Because once you know certain things, virginity has nothing to do with your hymen. Virginity has everything to do with your knowledge of a thing. You have an experience. There is a spiritual shift that has happened. And once you have had so many experiences in so many different ways, the thing that excites you or gets you off or gets you into it, it don't hit the same after you have had certain experiences. And you know what it's supposed to feel like. Or what
exactly. Well, is that like a case of ignorance is bliss? Like, you know, because then some people, like there are women that's like, oh, I've only been with him my whole life. And I'm always like, what? But then it's almost like, wow, like she must have such like the chances of her enjoying it are so much higher because she has nothing to compare it to. And I think that's the secret that men have used to try to like make us enjoy their whack ass sex is, oh, just have sex with me and have sex with nobody else. So you can't compare my dick size, my stroke game, my head game. Like, I feel like that's actually a conspiracy now that I think about it. Like, why are they so hell bent on us not having sex with anybody else? It's because you don't want the other man to show you up. That's what this is all about. This is all about trying to lock us down with whack dick so that they can have ownership of us and that they don't get to like feel bad about the fact or have bruised egos about the fact that there's somebody out there who's better in bed, who pleases us more than they do.
Yeah, and I think too, especially if like you were raised in a religion that prioritizes virginity, only giving yourself to your husband, and also too keeping you away from anything on the West or in the West, because we are hellions over on this side of the world. Um, Making sure you don't have access to that, you really don't have a desire because you have no expectation that A, this is for you to enjoy, or B, that you are supposed to reach a certain height. Kind of like when you were watching Bridgerton, the first Bridgerton, and y'all, I love me some Bridgerton. But when we were watching Bridgerton, the first one, he had asked her, had she ever played with her vagina? And it was literally like, no, I'm not supposed to do that. What are you talking about? Oh my gosh.
Right.
And he was like, no, I want you to play with you so that you can, get some certain feelings and experiences before I introduce you fully into this whole sex thing. So having you naive means you don't ask certain questions. You have no expectations that this is supposed to be for you. So I feel like back then men were able to do whatever they wanted to you. Who cares as to whether or not it felt good for you? It was strictly only and solely about them.
And about reproduction, ultimately.
And for
it
reproduction.
wasn't about you enjoying yourself or you reaching an orgasm. Like, I think there was this thing, or I don't know if I'm telling it right, but there was like when women back in the day, when women would orgasm, it was considered hysteria.
Yes.
Right? Isn't that like a thing where and they would like have to go to the doctor?
Yes, because they were having too many.
That's how vibrators were invented. Right? It was because like the doctor would like do it for them and like
to help them release.
To help them release and treat the hysteria. Like they thought it was a mental condition for us to orgasm. Like, let that sink in. Like, does it all make sense now? Like, why, and then also I was watching an interview and the woman was just like, it's just, we're so conditioned to not enjoy sex that now that there's more of a movement of women being more vocal about like, I don't like that. I don't want that. Don't do it to me. Men are so lost. Like they don't even know what, like they don't know, like, like they're so confused and had no idea that all this time we've been lying and pretending and acting like good and making orgasms. And now that we're just like, oh no, this is not gonna get out, or mid-sex, please stop. Like this is not working.
Okay, so now I have a question for you. Have you ever faked it?
Yes. Who hasn't? Yes, every woman has faked it in some capacity. I've never faked an actual, have I faked an orgasm? No, yes, I have. I have.
Okay. And so then have you ever stopped someone mid sex? Like he is in the middle of, okay, absolutely. So you and I aligned. So I used to fake it a lot with one of my exes, and he just knew he was like killing the game, and I would just like fake it so he could hurry up and finish.
Yeah, I've done that, but eventually I'm going to tell you. Like, so one thing about me is I've always told my partners like what's happening. Like, even if I faked it, I'll be like, hey, I like this, or I like that, or I prefer this, or I prefer that. I was blessed enough to have experienced a vaginal orgasm early in my exploration of sex. Like I lost my virginity around like 17 or something. And at that age, I experienced my first like big orgasm, like vaginal, like A-spot orgasm.
Yeah.
So the bar was set really high from the beginning. And I consider myself a very sexual person. So I would like I discovered sex and I was like, oh, this is it. Like these waters are warm. I like it here. I'm gonna swim around for a bit. I'm gonna stay here. I like it. And so I was very curious. I was very open. I was very exploratory in a lot of ways. But I just know that because the bar was set really high for me, it did create like that feeling of like constantly you kind of chase that high.
Yes.
for forever, really, because you know what the bar is and you know what's out there and you know what's possible for you.
So
Um,
then that's another con,
yeah, really.
because it can become so that feeling can become so addictive. You're constantly chasing it, right? And you'll kind of be willing to give it up as quickly as possible to get to that next high,
Yep.
right? Like it's like an itch, like, oh my God, like I've never been addicted to any drugs, but I can only imagine, like it's kind of like a burning, not the your actual parts are burning, but
Yeah.
there's like an internal thing where it's just like, oh my God, I have to have it. You feel like it's like eating you alive, like I need
No,
that.
I remember. You remember that? Like, I don't know if I hope it comes back at some point in my life because I know that like we have different peaks in our sexuality as women. But I remember like in my early 20s, like my vagina would literally like pound. Like
Yes, it would
it had like
throb.
a heartbeat, right? Like I remember that feeling. It's just like it's some real hormonal shit that nobody explains to you, nobody
Uh-huh.
teaches you about, nobody helps you to navigate and understand. Like women should be masturbating from like 13, 14. Like I
Yeah.
think I think pregnancy rates, STDs, a lot of things would be like not solved but managed better and at least
Mhm.
reduced if women were taught to pleasure themselves early, because then it would be so much less interesting and so less like way less appealing for somebody else to do it because, oh, I got it, I can just release it. And then
I'll be
that's
fine.
yeah, and to kind of manage like or to try to make sure that I didn't dive too deep into whole behavior is before I went on dates, I would masturbate, eat, and shower. Like that is
Mhm.
my like that's my go-to because it was how I was able to keep my head in the game because sometimes I felt like my vagina was just controlling me and I couldn't I had to put a muzzle on that bitch because she was like, you gotta get her to get like nobody talks about the self-control that women also have to
Yes.
control themselves. It's just like it's expected that men are supposed to have a difficult time controlling themselves sexually, but nobody talks about the difficulty that we have as well controlling ourselves
Because
and not giving into every temptation. It's very similar for many of us. And I
yeah,
don't know why there's this idea that we just have like this innate control over our vaginas. That no, you have to work at it just like men do.
exactly. There's a scripture, Danny, don't laugh,
Oh my God.
but there's a scripture that says it's better to marry than to burn. And I never understood it until after I started having sex. And it would literally feel like you said, like it's pounding,
It
like
has no heartbeat. It's its own entity.
its own entity. And it feels like you are burning from the inside and not an STD burn. That is not at all what I'm
No,
talking
it's just
about.
like you literally cannot. And they're like, oh, like a man thinks with his other head. So do we. That happens to us too.
She
Yeah,
be throbbing and talking like,
you
I
gotta catch this
need.
itch. Yes, that's a real thing. And nobody told me that that was ever a thing. Like I just thought like I would, it's just gonna be easy. Like, you wait and you when you're attracted to a guy, like he's gonna have to be the one to pursue you. Nobody tells you that sex could be incredible. It's just like the only things you hear about sex are STDs and babies, but no one talks about orgasms to young women. So that is a part of when you are when women are super promiscuous, it
Mhm.
can lead to a lot of like resentment as far as like how much you have to really manage yourself and control
Yes,
yourself. And it's just like if you give into that temptation too much and you don't manage and control those things, I don't even think most women mean to be sluts. It just kind of happens over time. Like the longer you stay unmarried, the longer you stay single, is the higher chances you have of being a slut. That's just a fact.
yeah,
Because
unless you're like super religious and like you actually adhere or admonish whatever your religion, because in most religions it tells women, it don't say nothing to the men, but in most religions it
it
tells
tells
women
yeah.
that we're supposed to, keep our goodies to ourselves. And I
Yep.
don't think that
Yep.
I don't think telling women that is a bad thing. However, if I was told that the reason you shouldn't sleep around is because you want to make sure someone really likes you, that they honor you, that they're, interested in getting to know you, or that they have some sort of investment. Because as a woman, I don't care how you feel, this is not the 50-50 conversation. A woman is created to receive, period.
Yep.
Whether or not you identify with your body, the female biology, the body, right? This ain't about whether or not you agree, don't agree. That's not that conversation.
I mean, even physically, biologically, like the penis has to be inserted into the hole.
Biologically, we are created to receive.
Yes.
So if someone had explained to me that you just don't want to be giving up your body to someone who has made no investments or deposits. I am not talking about people paying you for money or paying you for sex. That's not what I'm talking about. Investments can be in multiple ways: time, energy, effort, in enjoyment. Like, those are all investments. If somebody had explained it to me that way, I promise you I wouldn't have started having sex so soon.
Same.
I would have waited.
I would
But
have
you just telling me that God said I shouldn't. Sorry, baby. That wasn't enough for me, because I was like, y'all also told me he forgives sins. So
yeah. And also too, we never were taught the power of the pussy. And I observe, and I could be wrong, and you can tell me if you disagree, but I feel like in media, in society, in movies, in music, when it comes to the power of the pussy for Black women, it's all about us using our pussies in an exploitive way. Like, for whatever reason, the power of the P when it comes to Black women is all about us giving it to everybody. But in other cultures, specifically in white mainstream media, the power of the P is in withholding it and using it appropriately to get what you want. For us, it's like, oh, I'm gonna shake my ass, I'm gonna pop my pussy on the handstand. That's the power of the P. And it's just like, why is it when it comes to Black women and in Black society, the power of the P is only in service of the man? Like, it's about how much we give it up as opposed to how much we restrain it. And I think that that is such a disservice to us as a community, because it's so important to understand the power that is between your legs so you know exactly how to maneuver. And it's not about using the actual physical power of it as far as having sex, but it's just about knowing what you have and knowing who you are and understanding your femininity and the power of persuasion and the power of just being a woman who understands what she really has between her legs and how important that is. There have been wars. There has been bloodshed over some vagina. Okay. Yeah. So it's like we're not taught that that is a real thing, and we tend to just squander it and use our vagina for attention, for love, for affection, for validation, as opposed to using it to really improve our lives, using it to secure a future for our children and our children's children. Like, other societies and women are taught that. And I just feel like in the Black community, we have been done a great disservice to not understand what our womanhood really means and just how powerful our pussies really are when we withhold them.
Yeah. And it's understanding that you literally, and Tony Jones said it so perfectly, but you are a part of a community that gives souls bodies.
Ooh.
If it had been explained to me, the level of responsibility that I have because of the community that I'm a part of, I just would have moved very, very differently with my vagina. Now, granted, because we're going to talk about these pros. I know y'all like, well, dang, y'all done sat on the cons for a long time. Don't you worry, the pros are coming. But if I had known, I would have dated differently.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have allowed certain men to ever experience me, because the very thought of me carrying on that particular man's legacy is disgusting.
Oh my God.
Very thought.
I'm just like, what was going on? Like, who was I? That's what I'm talking about. You have to forgive yourself for allowing yourself to have those kinds of people, to have that person have access to you. So that is like, you don't think about it in the moment because you think that person is the bee's knees in that moment. But you know, you are going to grow, hopefully, and evolve, hopefully. And that person is just going to be like, how were they ever able to even breathe my air and touch me? You know, like, the fact that they were able to touch me is a problem. And that is so true what you're saying. Like that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Man, it's understanding again, and this is honestly how I approach it with my daughter. I don't tell her the only thing boys give you are babies and diseases, because that's a whole lie. My daughter's about to be 14, and so we're now about to start having the conversation, because she skews younger when it comes to like her sexuality without telling all her business. So I haven't had to have specific conversations that I'm about to start having now that she's about to be 14. Like, whether you here yet, I need us to have this discussion.
Yeah.
But it's if somebody, I mean, anybody who I loved or would listen to, or even cared about had that particular conversation, it would have been so different. And now also, the pros of having such a vast amount of experiences, for me at least. And I know we said the con is you know too much, but baby, please believe that coin. It's also the greatest pro. Like when I say the greatest pro, because baby, when I say I am fully expressed, and so many women aren't.
Yeah, it is definitely a pro, because you do get to explore your own body, and you get to explore the bodies of others. And I'm sure that a really big pro, especially if you're extremely promiscuous, where you're just like free spirit doing all the things, there is a certain sense of what's the word? Not freedom and not power, but there's like a certain sense of autonomy you have over your body. I'm sure, like there just has to be like that. Like when you just like, I'm just do what I want. I'm gonna come and go as I please. Literally, I'm gonna like, you're gonna move in the world with a different level of confidence than somebody who's like very restricted and reserved and really trying to keep a cap on that feeling and on that explosive sexuality that so many, I don't think I've ever really met a woman who is not very sexual, but either A, has to restrict it and has been conditioned to restrict it, or B, fully expresses it, or then, whatever is in between on that spectrum.
Yeah. I definitely say, especially too, when you look at like when you look at the percentages or the rates of, if they call it how there's the wealth gap, they call it the orgasm gap, right?
Yeah,
where basically saying that there are a specific number of, especially if you're in a heterosexual relationship, like there's a huge disparity between you climaxing and your male partner climaxing. That gap is something that so many women experience. And yes, I will absolutely be honest, because I've had quite a few experiences with different types of partners. I will say from my experience, many of the men are really, really terrible at having sex. Like, I mean, really, really, really bad. There was a 2005 study, and maybe it's gotten better, but there was a 2005 study that found that only 39%, 39% of women usually or always experience an orgasm during partnered sex, compared to 91% of men.
And the thing is, they typically have to be in a relationship with that person for an extended period of time. Men can do that by bouncing around and being from man and woman to woman, and being in these streets, and also being promiscuous, because men can be promiscuous. Men are whores too. Okay. And have the same repercussions and cons from being whores that women have. Like they're carrying around a bunch of shit from women that they've slept with too, energetically. That's a thing. But anyways, it's definitely something that benefits them more. I think that's maybe another con for women, is that promiscuity benefits men more, guys. Like we're the ones that's going to have the baby. Whether or not you choose to keep the baby, you're the one that's going to have the abortion if you don't want to keep the baby. And you're going to have to deal with that emotional toll that often takes on a woman's body and on her emotions and on her hormones. You're going to have to deal with whatever. We are more prone to getting STDs from men than we are to giving it to them. So, some of just the like basic things, they do benefit more based on their biology, based on society, based on the conditioning. So sometimes we feel like we're playing a game And sometimes, you play stupid games and win stupid prizes. And we feel like we can go toe to toe with them. I feel like we always will lose in that game. Like it's just not wired for us to really win that game, based on the way society has conditioned all of us. It's just, I don't think it's a good idea to try to decide who's more of a hoe, or who can be colder or who can be more detached. I think men are always going to win that.
Yeah, and there's no need for it, right? Like once you really connect with yourself, um, which is also honestly, for me, I believe a pro of being a lot more free is it gives you the opportunity to connect deeply with yourself to determine what works for you, with the goal of being better able to communicate that to your partner or partners if you're in a freer space and time in life. My belief, that is an absolute pro, because if you haven't figured out your body, or at least some of the things that you like, it is much harder communicating that. And two, for a lot of women, they feel afraid to say, hey, I don't like this. The reason I asked you, have you ever stopped somebody mid-sex, is it's because when I have conversations with a lot of women, they will say no, they will let the person finish. I used to be that person, not anymore. If it is bad, I will stop you in the middle of it, like, hey, please stop.
I have cried
Please stop.
during sex for both reasons. One, because I was enjoying it so much, and the other because I wasn't, and I just couldn't fake it, and I was really trying. And I just started crying. I was like, "Oh my god!" And they were like, "What happened?" I was just like, "I really don't want to do this. I don't. Can you please stop? Like, I don't want to. Like, I'm just not enjoying myself, you know." And I remember I was in a long term relationship, and I would I was very open about how dissatisfied I was with our sexual experience and our sex life. Like I was I'm like I said, I'm very communicative about that. You will never have to guess with me, and just with everything, but especially in a relationship when it comes to sex, like I'm going to tell you what's happening because it's important to me. And I don't want anyone to ever say that they didn't know. Like I do that with if you're my friend, if you're in my life, you know that like I'm gonna tell you what's going on because you can't ever say like I had no idea. That's not true. I told you. So, anyways, I would be very vocal about my lack of enjoyment when it came to our sex life. And one day he was just like, "Man, like you always tell me what I'm not doing. Having sex with you is like solving a math problem." I was like, "You want to know the good thing about a math problem when you solve it is if you solve it once, you never have to solve it again." 2 plus 2 is always 4. Always. No matter how you slice it and dice it. 2 plus 2 is 4. If you can solve that, if you can figure out what is the value of A plus B equals C, it's always the same. But a lot of times men don't even want to take the time to figure out the code, to figure out what buttons to push to get you to where you want to go. Because
But also, too, women feel bad that they feel they're taking too long. So they'll try and rush themselves and hurry themselves along. And then they can be close to an orgasm and then come right on back. Because, y'all,
it's very
you got to
mental.
start over.
Yeah, you got to start all over. Yeah, no, I remember that. And that was my response. I was just like, yeah, well, 2 plus 2 is always 4. You just have to figure out 2 plus 2. You just have to figure out like the 2 and then the 2 that make 4. And he never did. And that's why we're not together today, or one of the many reasons. And it always stuck with me though, that he felt like I was so complicated, and it's like, I know that I'm not complicated. I know that there is an answer because I feel like when something is complicated, it means that it's hard to solve. And I don't feel like I'm hard to solve. I feel like you just have to be wanting and willing and able to try to solve. It's not like this is not trigonometry. I'm algebra. Like this is algebra. You just have to figure it out. And I don't know that a lot of men are willing to do that. And I think another con, God, we're coming up with too many cons. We got to find some pros. Another con of being very promiscuous is based on the statistics, the chances of you enjoying the sex are very low. Okay. So
that is why
you just out here in these streets trying to try this and try that. And the chances of you really enjoying it, it just ends up being a waste of good vagina. Okay.
Listen, unless you are, so again, I like to keep it a buck. So if you are if you are bisexual, if you are a lesbian, your percentages of your like, okay, first time you're having sex and it's actually going to be good, it's over 90%, y'all. That means the common denominator is the men. So you really will, if you are heterosexual, right? And you want to explore, you're going to want to take your time to getting to know them so that you can at least have a few conversations to be able, so that you feel comfortable enough to explain and express what works for you, what doesn't. If your throat chakra is blocked, go ahead and sit down with a therapist so that you can get real comfortable and confident with saying, hey, I prefer this. Be willing to explore your own body. I think too, that is actually a pro. And again, some of these can go for both, because yes, the con is you may not have as many orgasms if you are more free with your sexuality. And also a pro is, again, because you are more free, you feel more comfortable talking about, hey, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I prefer. And you usually have perfected it, because men's egos can be incredibly fragile. You usually have perfected a way to express that to them without them going on guard or shutting down completely, because for some strange reason, men aren't so good at taking negative feedback,
Yeah, you definitely have to
especially
be
not
delicate.
sexually.
Yeah, I had to learn that the hard way. That like you have to be a little delicate. Like one, don't ever try to correct them during the sex unless you're giving a direct command, right? Like unless you're doing it in a sexy way, like, oh, touch me there, grab me there, kiss me like this. Like unless it's like a direct command, but don't try to like course correct in a non-sexy way in the bedroom while the sex is happening, and don't do it immediately after either. The best way to have conversations around improving sex with a man is like outside of sex, like randomly at dinner. Like, I really like when you do this, and always sandwich method. Tell them what you really like, tell them what you don't like, and then tell them what you really like again, right? So that they don't get too offended. But I definitely feel like we don't place enough value anymore on waiting and just kind of, like you said, getting to know somebody, having the conversations, let them stimulate you mentally first. The sex is way better when they do that.
Oof.
Getting intimate before the sex, having dialogue and having experiences with them outside of the bedroom that just make you feel so connected. Like sex is about connection. The more connected you feel, the better the sex is. So it's not about like, oh, I need to restrict myself. I would most look at it like, you know what? It's important for me to fully enjoy this. And I know that for me to enjoy this, I need to feel connected. So fucking him on the first night or going from, Tom, Dick, and Harry and being all over the place is not really conducive to my enjoyment. It might give me a momentary feeling of love and validation from that person, but it's very fleeting and it's not going to really give you what you think you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's definitely a piece that we have to talk through, honor, and acknowledge. And here's the thing. I'm not a part of the morality police. For me, I'm not waiting until I get married to have sex with anybody's son, because absolutely not. I want to test drive the car
Yeah,
before
yeah.
before I
I
agree.
need to milk the cow before I buy it. Okay.
Exactly. I'm not even gonna play pretend with anybody to act like I'm the morality police and telling you what you should and should not do. That's not my thing at all. And also, two, I will say, ensuring that whoever you are about to merge energies with, because again, no matter what your belief system is, you are merging energies. You are coming into a contract with somebody, whether or not it's going to be a contract for a short period of time or a long period of time, is just make sure that you are cool or have some understanding of who they are, so that you can decide like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with some of this. If I got to fight a couple demons later, that'll be all right. They demons are okay with me. I can be okay with that.
Yeah.
But I will say too, one of the pros though, of being freer, of being kind of slutty, is baby, you really, 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 you get to tap into a more, I don't want to say savage, but a more, um, when you think of, you're not trying to hide who you are, you become more open, you're able to attract more, simply because you're so cool with who you are.
Yeah, I can see that. Like kind of go back to that confidence piece. Like you just have
Mhm.
like a different level of confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, to just be letting everybody see you naked, yeah, you gotta be somewhat confident.
Somewhat confident. And also too, you sharpen your skills. Like, be clear. For any man who's ever had the benefit of sleeping with someone who is considered slutty, I can promise you they usually have enjoyed the hell out of themselves, because you have a different skill set, you know.
And I know that this is controversial, but I think that I don't believe that you can't make a hoe into a housewife. I think that hoes probably make the best housewives, really. If she's a reformed hoe who understands the value of settling down with one person. Now, for me, like, I don't believe that being super promiscuous makes, like, for me, that's not what a whore is, really. Like, I know that's the technical definition. For me, hoe shit is like having sex with like the same circle of men, like getting passed around. Like, I think that's whole shit to me. Like, being with a man and having sex with his daddy, his brother, his uncle, his anybody, like bestie, like that is whole shit to me. Like that is
Yeah.
having sex with your friends, man. Like
The violation.
yeah, like you can't have sex with your mama's new husband. Okay, you can't have sex with your auntie's new husband. Like you can't have sex with your. I saw a woman who had sex with her daughter's boyfriend. Like that's not okay. That's whole shit. Okay, so for me, it's not just the promiscuity piece. Even though I know that's what technically a whore is, but I think that there is whole shit that is just like when you just being too savage, like real savage behavior, when it involves people who can get hurt. Like I think if there's a component where you are deliberately trying to be hurtful, you are your behavior is going to impact in a negative way other people's lives, that you're destroying families, like sleeping with married men. That's whole shit. That's whole shit. Okay. It's not okay. You are destroying families. And not to say that the man doesn't have to take any accountability, because he is also dead wrong. But I just think that when you are a woman, I do wish sometimes as a community of women, because we know how hard it is on each other as mothers, as everything, just as women, we would kind of regard each other more, in a sense, to just not do stuff like that, but I know sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. So I think that you can turn a hoe into a housewife. I think, in fact, they make the best housewives probably, but her mentality has to be shifted, like she has to
Absolutely.
understand that behavior is not conducive in a marriage. That behavior, like for me, some whole shit I used to do is I used to cheat. Like I cheat on men, right? Like I will cheat on you. Okay, that's just what it is. I won't anymore. Like I'm saying back then, like I would.
Yeah.
That is like something that I struggled with immensely. Like if
Yeah.
I'm satisfied, like I'm just gonna get it elsewhere. And my daddy is an unusually promiscuous man, and he just always kind of drilled in. Like I remember one time I called him about a boyfriend. I was like, hey, like, and my dad and I talk about sex openly. We always have. And I was like, like, I'm just not enjoying the sex. Like, I just like, it's just really, I'm not satisfied. And he was like, well, just go have sex with somebody else. And he said, like he was saying to go get a slice of pizza because I was hungry. Like, he didn't even skip a beat. It was just like, oh, just go have sex with someone else. Like, he didn't understand why I was in this conundrum. Like, I was trying not to cheat on the person. And he
Yeah.
was just like, well, I guarantee he's cheating on you. And my daddy was right. But I think my point is that I had to learn that my behavior and cheating on my partners, even if they knew or didn't know, it was a sign of a lack of integrity on my part. And
Mm.
I was so afraid of being with men who were like my father and getting cheated on first, that I would just cheat first so that I could feel okay within myself if I got cheated on. And then the one fucking time I decided to not cheat, right?
I ain't gonna cheat no more.
And then it was like, you know what? I owned it, and I realized that was probably some karma I had coming my way anyways. And I realized, and feeling that hurt, how important it was to just not do that. And I had already decided that before I got cheated on, but I had already decided that I was not going to cheat on anybody else, because it's just not the right thing to do. Like, I don't understand why when men cheat, why their homies don't question their integrity, don't question their loyalty, don't question their business practices, don't question whether or not they're honest or dishonest people. Like, I don't like that stuff translates. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it translates, especially if you're doing it at a high level where this man is married and he's having sex with every bitch that he can find, like there's a difference between a man who cheats because it fell into his lap and a man who goes out and pursues other women to sleep with. And your homie circle should be questioning you. Your friend circle, like I remember when I was doing something like that, Alicia would be like, "Well, why are you going to do these things?" And I was just like, "Oh, I'm not satisfied." She's like, "Well, just leave him." Like,
because I don't. Back then, I still regard cheating as, for me, it's not. So I am a freer spirit, right? When I was on some heavy hoe shit. Well, no, I wasn't hoe shit because I always was honest with everybody. But when I was I was being exploratory. I had one partner, especially once I got divorced. I was like, okay, yeah, sex disconnects me. It doesn't connect me to you. Because of how I was introduced to sex. I lost my virginity when I was like 16, and the person who I lost it to, like as soon as it was over, he got up and walked away. That immediately created a disconnection for me. So whenever I needed to numb myself, I would just have sex. It's also why I don't sleep with people quickly, because if I sleep with you quickly, you're disposable. Next item on the agenda. And that's too comes with knowing yourself, right? Above all else, know thyself. We are all humans. We are grown humans. We are sexual beings. It's a thing. So for me, I was exploring with a young man, and we would literally just enjoy ourselves with other female partners because it's what I wanted to do at the time. We had a great time exploring those female partners together. We enjoyed it. We had, some of the best sexual experiences with those women. And I thank them so much for their service.
Taking up for the service job.
It was a good time. It was a really good time. But for me, it's always, and will always go back to, are you being honest? If you don't like something, the moment it becomes where your integrity comes into play is when you're not honest.
Yeah.
But as grown people, you can have a conversation to say, hey, this is what I would like more of, or I do want to explore openness, or I do want to explore poly, if that's your thing. Like, I want to explore more arenas when it comes to our sex together, because it matters that you are honoring not only yourself, but also honoring the fact that, hey, there is another person in this equation who I could literally break with my dishonesty.
Yeah. And that's what it was for me. Like, even now in marriage, like, it's just the world is just too small. Like, social media shrinks the world, y'all. So like, it's just so easy to get caught. Like, I don't know how anyone cheats in this environment. Like, I could never. Like, oh my God. My cheating was before Instagram was this, like, like, this is crazy.
Yeah. The one time I cheated was before Instagram too.
Yeah, like, I don't know how anyone cheats in this digital world. Okay. However, for me, that's what it was about. It's just like it's about having integrity. It's about protecting. Like, like one of the big things for me is I would never want a man to look at my husband and know that he has that over him. Like, I just that kind of like protection I have of him, just like, I could never, because the fact that like somebody would be able to look at him like, yeah, that's why I fucked your bitch. Like, I oh my God, like, that would just
destroy you.
I couldn't take that. Even if he doesn't know, just for that, just that I know that's how men think, because that's how men are. They love that, So for, you have to, if you struggle with that and you struggle with faithfulness, you struggle with promiscuity, think about some of the repercussions, and think about, as a man too, think about some of the repercussions of your consequences before you go through the action. Because is it worth the 5, 10, 15 minutes of maybe pleasure? Because it's not even guaranteed. 5, 10, 15 minutes of, possible pleasure that you might experience. Is it worth your whole life turning upside down? And at this point in my life, the answer is no. But if you're not there yet, that's definitely a conversation you need to have with yourself. And also, one piece we can't leave out before we wrap up is always ask yourself why you're doing these things. Why do you feel the need to be promiscuous? Is it really just about being free and just doing you? Is it just about exploring? Is there some void you're trying to fill? Is there, like, ask yourself these questions at different stages in your life when you realize that your behavior is not conducive to what you really want. Because you can't say you want to be wifed up, but you out here in these streets. Okay.
Yes and no, because here's the thing. I think that people
Around.
well,
You
wait.
can't go around and also want to get a husband, child. How you gonna
Give
do
me
that?
a second. I'm about to tell you if you let me.
Let me listen. Let me listen.
You also have to understand that there are various types of relationships and marriages. And if
Okay.
you know that monogamy is not something that you want, then you need to be honest with folks from the jump. Not
Yeah.
know, oh, you sneak it in on the second date. Absolutely not. Be honest from the jump to say you believe in being ethically non-monogamous,
Yeah.
so that you can attract the folks who also believe in that, because there is an entire slew of people who
Yeah.
do not believe that we are supposed to be monogamous. And that is okay. I ain't got heaven or hell to put you in. I'm not sitting as the judge or the jury or the prosecutor or the defendant. But what I am saying is this is where that integrity piece comes in. Figure out who you are, what you like. There are porn stars who have whole husbands. Whole
Yeah. And
husbands.
that's what I should say is just like if you are wanting a monogamous relationship and you want to be in a monogamous marriage, if your behavior is saying otherwise while you are, and I'm not saying don't date or don't be out here exploring, but if you are like going from partner to partner to partner, the universe you're sending, the message you're sending to the universe is that that's what you like and that's what you want and that's what you're okay with. So it is okay sometimes if you are really trying to grow, to take some time to clink, clink, okay? Like close your legs for a little bit and see what comes up. See if when you stop having sex with all these people, if your true soulmate, the man you really want to marry, comes into your life. Like it's so important to not just experiment sexually, but experiment by yourself with just who you are and what works for you. You are the greatest science lab in your life, right? So in order for you to figure out what you are, who you are, what you're about, what you like, what you don't like, you have to spend some time sitting with yourself and constantly letting people into your space, into your bedroom, into your vagina is a recipe for disaster, because eventually you're not even going to realize who you lose yourself in that. Like, is this my voice? Was it his voice? Was it his voice? Was it like, I think there's a time and a place for that. And if you can step away from that sometimes and just have some time with yourself, I think it'll help you get to where you're trying to go to, if that's not what you want long term.
Absolutely. And as we're closing out, there is this really, really phenomenal journal that I was gifted. And when I tell y'all, like the first like couple pages, I was like, oh, this is something different. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, journaling really does help me to process, writing it out, getting it from my head onto a piece of paper. It is created by a young man. His pen name is Kelsey. And the journal's name is She's the Grand Prize, a natural woman's 28 days wellness journal. There is on page number 4, it's a page called Why Are You the Prize? A lot of times women like to go out into the world saying, well, I'm the prize, I'm this, I'm that. And then as soon as somebody real fine be like, hey, yo, so what's up? All those supposed things that you had in your head about who you were completely goes out of the window. I mean, completely out of the window, primarily because we'll say that we're the prize, or we'll say that, oh, we feel this way about ourselves, but we haven't truly defined whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
So on page 4, where it says, why are you the prize? There's like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are like 10 questions basically that you can define for yourself that helps you to identify why you're the prize. Now, we're not about to go through all 10 of them, but I would love to do maybe just 2. So I'll do 2, Danny, maybe you can do 2, so that you can kind of get an understanding. And we'll, of course, link it in this conversation so that you can kind of maybe buy your copy if you think that, this will help you. But I feel that it is absolutely important that you define who you are, so that when you have naysayers and people who come to you saying that, well, this should not be the case, oh, you think you all that, da 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 da, you can affirmatively state, actually, yeah, I am. XYZ is the case. This is why. This is who I am. There was a young man, real quick, who I posted like some flowers that a young man had given me. I said on a Monday that I like flowers, and on Wednesday he had given me, the flowers, because he's like, oh, well, you said you liked it. And I prefaced it. The caption was, if a man wanted to, he would, period. This young man said, well, that's just temporary. Mind you, he is bitter. He is as bitter as they can get. It's not my place to try and fix or solve his bitterness. But he's super bitter. Then he was like, well, you women always want to take, da 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 da. Girl, I mean, a bitter Betty if I ever met one. And the men are getting real bitter here. I'm gonna need y'all to go get some healing. Go sit on somebody's couch so you can heal.
Please.
But one of my responses were, hey, I'm not for everybody. I am super clear that this is who I am. And I just listed 2 things. And because of that, I require this. I am not for you. You are not for me. I wish you nothing but good success as you continue to live out your life.
Right.
Simple.
Yeah, it really is that simple. And sometimes we get so angry at other people for wanting things that we don't have to give them. And that's okay. They can just go get it from somebody else. Like, it's okay if it's not, it doesn't make you less valuable. It just means that like you don't have anything for me, and that's okay. And I've learned not to take that so personally. I think men have to not take that as personal. But yeah, I want to do this. I think this is fun. So yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so it's page 4 in that journal, and it's called Why Are You the Prize? So I am going to first define, because this is the piece that I feel so many women miss out on. Danny, I would love for you to answer. And the prompt is, I am a woman that, and then there are 10 different, prompts. So I am going to say, my question for you is, I am a woman that is happiest when, and then you get to define, when are you happiest? So what would that be for you? I am a woman that is happiest when.
I am a woman who is happiest when I am walking in my purpose and seeing the fruits of my labor.
Ooh, okay.
I see it when I start to see things come to fruition. That brings me just great joy. That is like my, in this context, like, of course, I'm happiest with my children and my husband and all that stuff. But I'm happiest, when I can see, when my tree is bearing fruit, I'm happiest.
Ooh, yes, tree. Okay. All right, now your turn.
All right. So what would you say to, I am a woman that feels inspired by?
Ooh, I am a woman that feels inspired by the love and the progress that is happening and exists around me. Like, I am such a lover. So for me, and I don't just mean like a sexual lover, but I am a lover of people. I am a lover of progress. I am a lover of access. I am a lover of opportunity. So I'm really, really inspired when I get to see all the love that I just feel within, when I can see that in people, places, opportunities, and access around me. Like, when I can see the progress, like that for me, I'm just super inspired by it, because now I put some battery in my back. It's like, okay, all right, I can keep going,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely one. Ooh, so I am a woman that believes in what? What would you say? So I am a woman that believes in.
I believe, there's so many things I believe in and don't believe in. I believe in my ability to figure shit out.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I believe in that strongly, because I like am really big on knowing. So that's, I don't like, for me it's like, oh, I believe in God. Like, no, I know God. Like, I know, like I know those things. Like, that's like different to me. I believe in, my abilities to just like create the life that I want. I know that I can do that. I believe that I can do that. I don't always know that I can do that. So that's the place that I'm working on, is changing my belief into knowing. But I do believe that right now. That's where I'm at. But I don't think that belief is the highest level.
It's not, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where the base need is you got to have your basic stuff: food, shelter, protection, safety. But once you get to that level number 5, that's self-actualization. But ain't nobody trying to be self-actualized if they're hungry.
Right. Exactly.
They can't think there.
So I would love to get to a space of where I'm working on getting to a space of knowing that I can, but I do right now believe that I can create the life and figure things out and like, be who I am destined to be.
I love that. Oh, I love it.
Okay, last one for you. I am a woman that is afraid of.
Ooh, man, I am afraid of dying with my gifts still inside.
Oh boy, that's a big one.
Yeah, I'm afraid of dying with I'll say my best gifts still inside.
Okay.
Um, I am incredibly talented, and this ain't on no ego type shit. It just is a thing. I am incredibly talented, but with all of those talents, it can sometimes be really challenging to figure out which lane should I pursue, which way should I go. And if you are going in 5 different directions, it's very difficult to focus your energy in one place to get the progress that you need, because you just don't have enough power going in that same direction. And so for me, I don't want to run out of time because we're all perishable items. And I would hate to
Mhm.
die with the best stuff still inside of me. So that
Wow.
is something that I'm afraid of.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's a big one. I always think about whenever people say that, I always think about our ancestors and how many of them died that way. I think that's the greatest. I always say this. That's the greatest injustice to me of slavery is
Mhm.
all these people that didn't get to walk in a greater purpose. And maybe they did serve some purpose. Like they did serve a purpose, obviously. We all do, but I do think that there, we all have so much greatness within us, and to just not have the ability to explore that, and to still have so many disenfranchised people who are not able to explore their greatness and their purpose because they're hungry, because basic needs are not fulfilled, I think is just the
Mhm.
greatest injustice to humanity. But I hope you guys really take something from this conversation. We're not slut shaming. We're not saying that being a slut is a bad thing, but I do think that when you are taking certain risks, you need to know all that come with it. And a lot of
Yep.
times, everything is just being praised, praised, praised because everyone wants to feel validated. Everyone wants to feel special. Nobody wants to be called on anything. Nobody wants accountability anymore. And when it comes to how you use your body and how you move about with your body in the world as a woman, especially, you do have to be cautious of that. You are, like you said, you are the entity that brings life into this world. Like that is such a serious task to do. And the fact that it's just taken so lightly is just beyond me. The fact that I used to take it so lightly is
Me
just
too.
me. Knowing that I could have been attached to a man forever, that just is not worthy. It's just we do too much of that as a society, as women, as Black women. We just need to really understand what it means to have the power of the pussy and how to wield it in a way that can move us forward as a culture and as a group of women who have been raped and beaten and tortured and have our children ripped away from us. Like I don't always know if taking a path that doesn't serve us as a community more is the best path for us at this stage. Maybe in 50 years we could just be out here popping our pussy on handstands, but I don't know if that's what we should do right now. We just have so much healing. There's so much brokenness that needs to be fixed. Like being a slut is just shouldn't be at the top of the list.
And here's the thing, you can pop your pussy on a handstand. Just pop it for people who are invested in your growth, in your
Yeah,
development,
and
and
in
in you.
you, who you can benefit from in some way. Like I remember I have a really bad. This is a bad joke, and like I shouldn't have ever had this joke, but it would just be like, sometimes you have to get to a space where you decide that that's no longer who you are, and like all that stuff did not count, and you just move on and just start a new one. Like after like a decade, don't all your partners expire anyways? Like
In my
every
mind,
4 years, just reset. Like you don't have, just because you've been a hoe to me, you gotta always be a hoe. You can stop hoeing if you want to, right? Like if you don't want to, that's on you. But you can get to a space where you're just like, hey, that doesn't serve me anymore. I'm gonna close that book and I'm gonna reinvent myself and be something different. Look, there's so many famous people who have done that, and you can take a page out of their books. I don't want to drop any names and insult anybody, but you can take a page out of people's book who have literally reformed their entire lives, even though their fame was from them being promiscuous or from them doing whole shit. So you don't have to stay there if that's not where you want to be. But if that's where you want to be, sis, live your best life, wrap it up, strap it up, take all the protective measures that you need and make sure that you are truly doing it for you, and the highest version of yourself. And if those things are not aligning, then you may want to reconsider your behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Y'all, thank y'all for rocking with us with this particular conversation. I know it's one that's a little touchy, but y'all should already know that we not so good at not having very real conversations. I think that's why y'all been rocking with us now for over 85,000 downloads. We will hit 100,000 episodes in this season. And I am so grateful already. Thanking y'all in advance for every share, every download, every, hey, have you listened to Triggered AF podcast whisper that y'all are giving and sharing with the people. We are super grateful. Yeah. Thank you so much. Make sure you stay connected with us at triggeredafevents.com. Trust me, some magic is happening coming at the top of next year in 2024. Make sure you're connected there. Also, too, you can stay connected with me at Alicia Reese, spelled Alechia, last name Reese, Reese, or Triggered at Triggered AFPC. Danny?
Yes, you can stay connected with me at the Danny Bordeaux, Danny Dani, Bordeaux is Bourdeau. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. Again, we are not trying to insult or make anybody feel like what they're doing is wrong. We just want you to take some inventory and evaluate your lifestyle choices to make sure that they're aligned with who you are really on the road to becoming. So thank you guys for listening. Share. Tag us in any comments or any feedback. Please feel free to give us feedback and have this conversation with us on our IG, on our website, triggeredafpodcast.com. Like, we just want to interact and, continue on this healing journey together. Thanks for listening. Bye.